This is CRM Audio, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM podcast, with George Dubinsky, Joel Lindstrom, and Sean, the CRM Hobbit Tabor.
This episode is sponsored by KingswaySoft. KingswaySoft is our favorite SSIS adapter for CRM, offering software solutions that make data integrations affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 60 countries and regions rely on KingswaySoft to integrate data with various application systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. KingswaySoft offers full-featured adapters for the entire Dynamics family, as well as Salesforce.com, Dropbox, OneDrive, Parature, and more. KingswaySoft offers the easiest to use integration and migration tools with the most features for the lowest cost. We thank KingswaySoft for their support of CRM Audio.
It's very nice of them to release the release preview guide for the Spring Wave like right after I released the last episode.
Yeah.
So we're talking about how we're not going to break the NDA and talk about anything, and then they like release it all.
Yeah. That was helpful.
I think that was intentional. They were waiting for our episode, and then they said, okay, now that they're out of the way for 2 weeks, now let's release it so they can't talk about it.
Well, you know, that's what happens when you're on the cutting edge of technology, such as this podcast.
You bleed a lot.
You do. A little bit.
Sean, the News Hobbit, what are the big things that you saw in the release preview guide that we should talk about?
So really, a lot of my attention and focus, given my propensity for Field 1 now, because I've been implementing it and really getting to know it. A lot of the field service and project service, mainly the project service stuff, is really interesting to me, especially for a company that has end-to-end product management and development all the way through to manufacturing. It really is giving companies an end-to-end solution in a lot of ways. It's extending the service capabilities that Field 1 already provides, but for someone like us, who is a professional services firm, we now have a purpose for Field 1, where we don't necessarily have people going out doing field service work, but we definitely have a lot of project service going on.
I didn't think it's tied up to Field 1.
Yeah.
I understand it complements it nicely, but it's
extending the capabilities of Field 1. So the ability to do resource management and scheduling, the ability to understand their skill sets and proficiencies, all that's coming off of Field 1.
No, but what I'm saying is that Field 1 is not a prerequisite for project services.
No, it's not necessarily a prerequisite, but what it's doing is it's tying into that. So, I said, you're having an end-to-end solution for a lot of these companies that go from product development all the way, or product management all the way to product development and manufacturing.
I have only one thing to say about that one. We are working on some training for customer service, and we've been discussing project services just last week. And we allocated something like a training module, plus some exercise to project services. Now we were reviewing, and basically we agreed that we need to look into it because it's so massive. We're probably not going to fit it into one module. So it's just so big and massive and has lots of functionality. So I'm very keen personally to get into it.
I just really like how the whole service component is really maturing, going back from, back in the days of 4.0 and even 2011 when cases and service scheduling were pretty immature and limited in capability. Now to have something, essentially a service suite within the core product is pretty awesome in terms of what we can do for customers in a customer service and project service and field service capabilities. One of the things in field service that really stood out to me is not only the handshake between CRM cases and work orders with an out of the box business process. that's I want to see it, but that's indicating to me that I'm going to be able to have a business process flow is going to span those objects, which is great. The shared resources across project service and field service, that's that I really like. And the detached schedule support, I had this very request in the project I'm currently implementing field one on. They want to be able to have a scheduling component without scheduling against work orders, and this new capability will provide that. So I like that a lot.
In my opinion, we have as many, if not more, uh, clients or potential clients who do professional services of one sort or the other than do field service.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that it's probably, or it could eventually be a bigger piece, at least from my perspective, than the field service piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen, and I believe back in the day, we even tried to leverage the out of the box service scheduling to handle project management, and it never worked. You would start going down the road and you say, well, we have resources, we have scheduling, we have work hours and things like that, but you reach a point where it just is like the proverbial square peg in the round hole
Right.
kind of thing,
Right.
where this is designed where somebody really could end to end sell a project and deliver it through CRM, including Microsoft project type Gantt charts and resource availability from the opportunity, and having a mobile app that the resource pool could use to check for available work for them and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And I am wondering
And
how if at all it's going to hook into project, because you're going to have a swell of project managers that will kind of go into fits and starts if you don't have that hook into project. In terms of invoicing, I'm keen to see if it's tying into the field one invoicing component, because right now, that's another factor of that whole project scheduling and service. To get those invoices out on a regular basis, you either have integration with your back office such as AX to do that, but nothing in CRM really does that well for in that kind of mode for a project service. So I can't wait to actually get my hands on it and play around with it and see. So,
Well, the release preview guide, which you can get at crmroadmap.dynamics.com, says that the solution supports back office integrations to productivity and business applications.
yep.
So, since Microsoft Project is a productivity and business application, maybe.
I would assume
please,
so.
please don't bring Microsoft Project into the fold. It's
Well,
just,
no, it's not bringing it into the fold, but it's a reality that there are going to be companies that have already built their processes and reporting around that. I mean, they could have project hooked into SharePoint to, and
sure.
building BI and building reporting and
CSV files work to move information between project and project services just as well. What's interesting about Field One and project services, it all started, I guess, with Unified Service Desk when Microsoft started to package solutions, out of the box solutions, outside of the core CRM. That is, it's not part of the core CRM capabilities, but rather built on it. So people who are building it are in the same shoes as we are, right? So they have what we have. So they can't use some undocumented JavaScript calls or some undocumented server-side capabilities. They just have what we have. And that alone basically accelerates resolution of certain items that's been on development team's backlog for, let's say, a long time. For example, Unified Service Desk, they quickly discovered that deployment framework in CRM doesn't quite work for them and it needs to be extended a bit. And therefore, we have package deployer and all the related tools that go with it, right? That allows ISVs now to package solution, to package data, and effectively install it, to create an installer. In this release, And my bet is because primarily project services would need it, we finally gonna get customer field. You know,
Yep.
invoice,
Mm-hmm.
account contact. And I reckon one of the reasons why all of those entities, order, invoice, quote, what they were underused, let's put it this way. I'd say a lot of it was because of this customer field that wouldn't map just well, wouldn't map into your custom entities. You had to split it, you had to maintain two relationships, you had to do some JavaScripts, and it's not quite the same, and reporting was nightmare. And now finally we're getting the same customer field. So you can link your invoice to your custom entity.
Customer field is the lookup that appears on case and opportunity that lets you select an account or a contact. Is any mystery that Shan MacArthur joins the company, who has been asking for polymorphic relationships, and like first release we get the customer field anywhere.
Yeah,
I don't.
I
I
guess
wouldn't say there's a causal factor there. Would you?
It's probably a condition of his employment, I bet.
it's in his contract. Yeah. Uh,
That's another thing that I'm super excited about, that would solve so many just kludgy designs right now, where you want to try and build your own version of connections, and so you want to have it be able to really be related to contacts or companies, and you have to create two different lookups. So that's good. The other thing, speaking of Shan, equally or maybe more so groundbreaking, is what's coming with portals. Online customers with the spring release are going to have basically a packaged, pre-configured, configurable portal option. These are going to be, a couple different scenarios. There are partner portals. There are online communities, like if you want to have your blog run from CRM and have forums and things like that. The others are employee self-service and customer service as well. So the majority of Parature functionality, like a portal where people enter cases and search the knowledge base, you're not going to need Parature anymore.
just to be clear, so people don't get wrong ideas into their very much excited heads. What's coming in spring release is portal hosted portal capabilities. So out of the box, you will be able to configure it and run it on Microsoft Azure infrastructure. So that will provide hosting capabilities in Azure for your portals. What is not common is extensibility. So any portal development framework would have to wait for the fall release, I suppose. I
Right. If you
guess.
want to take that portal code and put it on your own Azure server and extend it,
If you want to
yeah, that's
extend it, if you want people who used framework ADX Studio framework and used to develop their own capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
used to put some code behind their own pages. That is not in this release. So configuration only. So you can select the predefined template. You can configure whatever you can do through CRM, whatever you can configure through CRM, and to a certain extent with some files like CSS and so forth. That's what's going to be in Portal. Extensibility and API, that will be coming later on.
But if even so, if you're an online customer, especially small to mid-size, and you have a Microsoft hosted portal option for a low cost, it's not going to be free, but it's going to be lower cost than if you went out and developed something by yourself now, or if you license Parature, basically. And
Probably.
then
I
you
don't
will
know
see.
about the pricing. I wouldn't make any bets on it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the pricing yet, but having something, what I'm saying with Parature, if you license Parature, you've got to pay to write the
Yeah,
integration to integrate the
you're right.
cases.
Yes.
Knowledge-based articles are, but that's what I'm saying. If you had that kind of easy option to set something up and could do some fairly simple configuration on it to skin it your color and put your logo on it, that's a huge step. And then give you the ability to extend it later. That will be
Look,
even better.
I'm not convinced about the small customers, because if they looking to put couple forms up there, there are other solutions probably more viable in terms of pricing. But medium to large customers who looking to create a portal for their customers, forums, ideas, or reseller portals, that certainly will play really, really well, and beats, hands down, beats developing those portals by yourself,
Right.
whatever your chosen framework might be. Looking forward to that.
So, George, you have kind of your own portal framework that runs on WordPress. How are you changing the way you do things in light of what's coming from Microsoft?
Look, our target is different. Our target audience is different. Our target audience is small to medium businesses, and we're kind of still in beta version. Probably, I'd like to talk separately about our solution. Maybe sponsor ourselves.
That's
But
one quick way to get a segment.
If you want to pay me money to listen to you talk, George, you're welcome to.
And I would actually prefer it.
but different. We targeting people, small to medium businesses who potentially already have their sites in WordPress. Okay, and so they're looking to extend existing WordPress sites with some capabilities, perhaps to bring some data from CRM into WordPress, perhaps to put some forms um, that collect data straight into CRM, and do it in a nice and integrated way. Uh, that's one objective. The second objective for us is to provide integration with CRM online as well as on premises. We maintain parity between the two, so we don't outsource any solution. So people comfortable with WordPress, who's got their solutions going, it makes it easier to integrate with CRM. So we make it easy for them. The other aspect is that in some companies, the public website is marketing domain. They don't want to relinquish control and give away content and say now content lives in CRM. They like their publishing cycle that exists in WordPress and so forth. Content management stays with the WordPress platform, but data management moves to CRM. So it's slightly different audience. It's different audience. We're targeting small to medium. I see the portal framework targeting medium to large businesses. Definitely, there is an overlap. I have to wait for the API to come along. I'm sure the API would be stellar. Now that Shan joined the company, I expect nothing less than perfect API coming out of that, but would have to wait another half a year for it to appear. So with the good API, if you're ASP.NET developer with C# skills and .NET skills, then certainly portals are going to be breeze to extend and configure. Our solution is it targets different market people who already have WordPress, don't have any development skills, so it's more point and click.
But I mean,
So
just you
it's
saying that, George, isn't that kind of an exciting turn of events for Dynamics? Because I mean, what 3 years ago for us to say that one of the out of the box solutions is not really pointed to a small business, more medium to large, that's a definite shift, which is a positive one to me. That we would be talking in these kind of terms. I think it's kind of exciting.
Right. I think too that it's one more way that we're jumping ahead of the competition, because that's something that we've all seen, where you get in a competitive deal with Salesforce, and they frankly have had better canned or pre-configured portal options. And sure, there's been third parties, but having this available, and the availability to quickly configure a demo portal for somebody, is a nice wow factor there. It's good to see that they're not just putting a generic portal out there as well. They're hitting 3 or 4 most common scenarios. The most common ones I see are either the partner or distributor portal and the customer service portal. One of the other things reading through the guide And again, some of the little things, like we already mentioned, like the customer field being available on all entities, that's exciting. But also the guided user navigation, what was known as codename Mars, is coming to the full application, including the web. This is something that came out with mobile. It's kind of like what dialogues should have always been, which is a nice, attractive looking, configurable wizard or guided process. And where I'm excited about this, having actually seen deployments where we've used that, we had one very large deployment where their feedback was prior to the guided processes that were added in 2016, they didn't like the mobile app. But after this and configuring, you've got your salespeople and they've got a big button they can push that says capture meeting report or capture trip visit. They can click that and it guides them step by step through it. It's a great thing for also if you introduce a new feature or a new process, create a guided process to guide the user through it first 2-3 times, and then after that they don't see it anymore. We actually had a go live last week where we did the training, and the feedback from the client was, it's almost like we didn't need this. This was so intuitive. And years ago, no one would have ever used the word intuitive to describe Microsoft software.
Right.
That was what people call Apple software.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think this kind of like training wheels. You wouldn't want your power users seeing this stuff, but for new users, along with your training as a supplement to training, I think this is going to be a big win.
And do you see the capability to extend this even more, and maybe that, because there are still ISVs out there that focus on the training aspect. What kind of capabilities are you seeing them offering up to extend it to do more with it? Because I mean, right now you could already insert video. I'm just wondering, and I didn't see this. Can you extend it to Cortana? Can you have Cortana? Can you
I don't think it has that yet, but I mean even the embedding the video, we're doing more and more of instructional video to supplement the training, but there's not really a straightforward place of where do I put this training video. But if you can have this pop up in context of what you're doing so they can watch it as an opportunity or being a case the first or second time.
Well, creating good walkthroughs is not a small feat. So I expect some of the companies, some of the training companies focusing on delivering those integration, the materials that you can just plug into your CRM and suddenly it becomes available. Or for example, if you have a massive solution, you guys deal with those. I don't deal with large installations. But if solution is very much heavily customized, say built on top of Field One with project services on top, and it's very specialized for this specific customer, and let's say their mobile force is like 700 people, you want a custom walkthroughs covering those specific bits and pieces of this specific solution. So there will be I suspect there will be a lot of opportunities for training companies to come with the quick services, create a package solution, a walkthrough guides for new user joining company XYZ, say Hitachi or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also for ISVs, if provide pre-configured guided user navigation for your solution so that easy for users to use your solution.
Actually, I did like it. Just experienced a very similar approach in new Office 365 portal. If you notice, when it switches you from the old um, administration portal to the new one, it gives you kind of a runaround with the features. And he's this, and he's that, and he's that, and he's that. And to my surprise, I found that usually I tell those guides, go away, let me do my work. But on this occasion, it was nicely built. So I said, okay, show me this, show me that. It took like 2 minutes, but in the end of 2 minutes, I knew more about new portal that I would have known after probably a day of poking around.
Right. I noticed that people like Adobe and the Creative Suite do a good job of that kind of thing. Also, Windows 10 has a lot better guided navigation assistance and things like that the first couple times you use it, but it kind of fades in the background and then you don't see it anymore.
I wonder if there is a magic keystroke to bring it back. But you know what I found? What's very important? I'm looking at the field services enhancements in the next release, and it says that a field tech can schedule time for lunch. Sean, you're an expert in field one. So what it's saying is that right now you can't schedule time for lunch.
What you can do is in your work hours, in your weekly schedule, or even on a daily schedule, you can schedule breaks. But so that's your work schedule. Um, in during your standard resource schedule, if you have gaps, the only thing you can schedule against it is a work order. So I
Yeah,
can't.
and they're saying that currently you have to have empty work order to
Right.
schedule those gaps.
Right. So yeah, that's something in the current version you don't have the flexibility that it's talking about with the Spring Wave. Spring
So
Wave is gonna.
basically, no food for you.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
we don't allow lunch
Yeah.
here, George.
Yeah, you could
Oh,
much like was in the standard service scheduling. You could throw in a break, but it's not gonna. You don't have the
it's not really a
flexibility,
break.
right? You don't really have the flexibility in your resource schedule,
I see.
and that's a big deal. That's a big deal being able to schedule, especially if you want to, like the scenario I have with my customer is they have resources that are considered on call. So they want to be able to schedule or indicate what that schedule is for the on call schedule. That doesn't mean they're scheduled against work orders at that time. They would just want to know what that schedule is visually. And right now, in the schedule board UI for Field One, the only way you see something really visually besides a gray bar is if it's scheduled against work orders. Then you get the little bricks of time allocated to those work orders. And you could schedule multiple resources against a work order, obviously, and multiple work orders at a given time. But to really to be able to see things graphically, you have to schedule it against a dummy work order if you want to put that time in. So having this capability, I'm hoping that you'll be able to still see it graphically in that same way. But that's something I'm looking forward to see. So that's great functionality.
So Sean, you need to schedule a meeting now with your clients and say, guys, if you want to take lunch, you got to upgrade.
That's right. That's right. You got to upgrade right now.
Otherwise, no lunch for you.
That's right.
And just reading through the rest of the document, there's a lot of great new features, but then you get to the end, and one of the features is we are going to continue to update the compatibility list. So just in case anybody was curious, Microsoft is going to continue to update the compatibility list. Do you think they maybe needed a round number of features, and so they had to find one to add to it?
That is an
Like,
interesting
hey,
concept. Yeah. Need to balance this
49
document out.
isn't enough. We have to have 50. So what's one thing we get? Oh, compatibility list.
That's right. That is funny. We also need a link to that compatibility list. So how are we going to get that in there? Yeah.
That's good. But that and the trust, it also has a link to the Trust Center, and I think that's a good, even though that's not a new feature, it's a good reminder for people who don't know that, hey, here's a good thing to check, and our commitment to updating security stuff and things like that. So lots of good stuff, and we'll be playing with this stuff as soon as we get access to it. Still, some of the details we can't share, but that just gives us more stuff to talk about in the future.
Yep.
I actually look forward to enhancements in search and Azure Learning. That's going to be interesting, in particular when applied to social. So that's adaptive learning for intentions. So finally, I will get to know what you guys mean when you say things about me.
That's a good topic because I see the vision of machine learning. I see where things like the Office graph, but if I log into Delve, which Delve is the one I'm thinking about, I think that has the feed of documents within your organization and will show you as a way to discover new information that is tailored around you and relevant to you, so that you will see what documents are trending and things like that. And so it uses things like the machine learning. However, in reality, I haven't found it to be extremely useful because I see quite a few documents that have no relevance to me. Maybe they were uploaded by somebody that I have followed other documents from or something. And I also think of things like my Netflix queue and my Amazon recommendations are all, millions of dollars in machine learning invested in them, and they're still just not very good.
Yeah, but look at the positive side. Forums, Instagrams, and blog extensions are coming to social engagement. Um, I can only say that I think that by fall they're gonna cover Snapchat and we're done.
What about WhatsApp?
I just, you know what? Funny, I just looked at it and WhatsApp doesn't have an API.
Uh,
So here we go.
what's the one that everybody in China uses? I was on a project a few
Weibo.
months ago. Yeah, yeah. Everybody wanted an integration to that, and
Yeah,
for
that's
them,
because Weibo has more users than probably all Twitter user. Weibo API. Well, let me have a look. But Snapchat would be interesting. Well,
yeah.
you know that, say, my kids, they use Facebook to read funny materials, but they don't actually participate in Facebook anymore. Their choice of communication is Snapchat.
My daughter says Facebook's for old people,
Correct.
which is
Um,
sad. Makes me old.
which is yeah, which is why I'm no longer on it. I don't feel like I'm old enough.
Oh yeah, no Snapchat. No, I have no idea what that is or what it does.
I'm on there and have two friends, but nobody has
Yeah,
sent me anything.
I've got both of my kids as my friends, and they send me every now and then something to keep me going. Saying,
So you
yeah,
send them snaps of you like giving them stern looks and telling them to clean their rooms.
I could. Oh, no, I haven't tried that. I should really try it. But I would be interested. It would be interesting to see all applications are going down the road of less attention span, and I'm just curious how social engagement is going to deal with that. So it
Yeah,
was a
it's
joke,
it's
but that's where it's all going. They don't use emails, they don't use Facebook anymore. So WhatsApp and Snapchat is basically their two preferred forms of communications.
well, that whole thing, it really depends on where are the people you know. Yeah, they don't use email now. They get a little older, they get a job, use email for work. Email's not going to die. And also, if you go to college and your college friends are using WhatsApp or whatever, that's what you're going to use, or using Yik Yak to complain about your teachers and stuff. But on another topic, I thought let's go over some of our recent tips of the day, and I think we've had some good ones in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. What's our video going to be on Friday? Is that another voice of the
Friday
customer
video
one?
is we continue in voice of the customer. So we just drill in. We've done intro, we've done distributing surveys, and now we into question designs. So how to build your questions and so forth. So
Okay.
just into voice of the customer.
Okay, good. I have a couple about Outlook and server-side sync, some of which are going to be running early next week. One of the ones that somebody emailed me about, and a lot of mine come from emails. People send me an email the question, and I write in response, and I think that would be a good tip. So, for example, one of them is about kind of what is the experience difference with Outlook and server-side synchronization. That's going to be next week. The other kind of bizarre one is for some in I think it was 2015 update 1 or 2016, a setting has come in to automatically apply the default entitlement to cases when they're created and updated, and that's turned on. And we've had a couple of upgrades where we don't give users access to entitlements because we're not using entitlements. Then all of a sudden they start seeing this error when they create a case, and it turns out that what's happening is the system is automatically trying to add an entitlement to the case.
Sean, you're
So that
working
was
with
also
Field
kind of a lesson.
One. That brings my next question. Sean, you're working with Field One
Yeah.
right now, as I understand.
Yep.
How does it deal with with all the entities being external outside, right? It brings them in, so permissions need to be granted. Does it insert like few custom roles into
Yes.
as
Yeah, there
part
are
of the
field one
solution?
security roles. Yes, there are.
Yeah, okay. So that's so we expect basically as you install those solutions, a set of what is it, 13 or 14 built-in roles uh, being expanded as you add more and more solutions because each solution comes with their preset, pre-configured roles that cover custom entities.
Right. Well, yeah, and typically they do what I would prefer them do instead of the big bulk set of roles that you have to mix and match. I kind of would like to see more additive roles where they're just simply
Never ending. Didn't we
yeah,
have tip of the day for that, Joel?
Yeah, like one of our first tips was using a base role. And I'm also curious, since they have these big full-blown roles, you've always got the issue now when you upgrade that these new permissions are added, but they're not added to your custom roles. And I've got to wonder, are the field one roles, given they're not part of the core solution, are those going to get outdated with new functionalities added?
Yeah, my choice is to go granular additive
yes,
functional
I agree.
design. Kind of, okay, you need to schedule services.
Yep.
Here's the role that adds this capability to your existing ones.
Yeah, I would
Um,
much rather see that than and I understand why they would give the standard 14 user based roles because if you have users that are only going to use field one, it gives you an easy way to give them the permissions that they need. But at the same time, uh, more and more as we grow this product, more of those functions are additive functions. They're still
mhm.
custom entities. They're not until they're system objects. They really need to be looking at those additive roles. Maybe it's a situation where they're giving us the 14, 13 or 14, big box roles, and then you're given, five or six additive functions for the most widely used functions, something of that nature.
So joining us now is Rhett Thompson. Rhett is with Kuvana. Rhett and I go back a while. Rhett used to work at Customer Effective, which then, of course, turned into Hitachi. But after leaving Customer Effective, Rhett co-founded Core Motives, which was acquired by IBM. Rhett is an entrepreneur, and he has started a new company called Kuvana. Welcome, Rhett.
Hi, Joel. It's great to be here. Always nice to spend time with the experts.
Well, I won't speak for all of us, but yeah. So, what is Kuvana?
All right. Yeah. Well, Kuvana is a tool for salespeople, and it's really designed to help them in the follow up process. There are two main things that it does. The first is that it lets them know what happens to an email message after they click send. And the second is that it updates CRM for them. So, regarding the send of the message, there's a lot of detail where salespeople may send a proposal, they may send something like a video that's a product demo, and they want to get the prospect to engage in the document or engage in the video. What we can do is show what percentage of the video that the prospect has watched, so the salesperson has a really good understanding of, are they interested. Maybe they watched it 3 times all the way through. That's a tremendously powerful set of data for the salesperson. If I take a document for an example, maybe they've spent most of their time, let's just say for the sake of example, 60% of their time studying references and implementation. You would know that kind of information, so your follow-up calls can be much more appropriate and timely. So that's a nice value that we add to the sales cycle. And regarding CRM, when I talk about updating CRM, then the interaction that I was just describing, that is recorded back to the person's CRM record in Dynamics. And additionally, any outbound communication, it's automatically taken care of as well. We'll just go ahead and put that against the contact record so that management is happy and CRM is up to date. Another thing that happens oftentimes is an update needs to be done to the sales opportunity after you finish a phone call. So right inside, there's a little signal panel that sits inside Outlook, and you can just click a button that is in front of you that allows you to edit the CRM right there, and it goes in and takes care of it for you in the background. So a lot of little tricks and simple things that make the entire sales process a lot easier for salespeople, makes them much more excited about CRM in general because they don't have to spend all of their day searching inside the database. They can work inside that they work in most of the time, which is email, and we take care of the rest.
Right. So your co-founder there is Chad Ruff, who was the founder of Sales Fusion and Sage, right?
That is correct. That's correct. So Chad, like me, has spent many years in the marketing automation space, like creating companies, growing them globally, having some of the largest brands, some of the most powerful users of Microsoft CRM use our products in the past. When we met each other, we just, oddly enough, we never had actually said hello to each other. We knew about each other, but we just never did. And we got together a few months ago and everything just clicked. And it turns out we're pretty much neighbors as well. We close to each other in Atlanta, Georgia. And so we formed Kuvana and have had so much fun just building it out, loving what we've got going. And we think the market will benefit from it quite a lot. So we're excited to see how that goes.
Right. Yeah, and I know you're positioning it as for sales, which there's the obvious in with people in sales who are interacting with people, sending a lot of emails and things like that. But I see a lot of uses for it even outside of that. I mean, just the ability, for example, with core motives and click dimensions and any of these tools that provide on a marketing automation basis, the way to blast out your campaign emails and see who's clicked on it, things like that is great. But there's no easy to use solution to do that on a one-to-one email, especially right outside of Outlook or Gmail. And having the ability for me to put a link in to a video and get something back with how long did you watch it, or a PDF is how many pages did you read, that kind of metrics on a one-to-one type email. Anybody who interacts with people, customers or constituents or things like that would find great value in those metrics. And that's a question that people ask, and they just kind of assume, well, CRM, I'm going to send an email out, can I see who's clicked on it? And I've always said, well, no, because you don't have any kind of a cookie in there or whatever. You could do it with core motives, but it's a lot of steps to
It
go through
is,
for
isn't
just
it?
sending one
And
email
then
kind of thing.
you end up with
And so this is the value I see here is it's kind of like I made the comment like, wow, this is like you combine together core motives and intro hive or data hug kind of thing, because you're going in that direction of automating your relationship management from where salespeople and other people are working, which is their email, automatically tracking that and giving in some ways greater metrics back at a pretty affordable price too.
I couldn't agree more. I think that the marketing automation tools that we built and that are available in the market today, they're amazing for the marketing department. But as a salesperson, sometimes you have to bounce out of one application and go log into another one and search for a record and then scroll down and try to drill in and understand. Come on, it's just not practical for salespeople. And the way that the panel exists right inside Outlook, and even on your mobile phone, there's a mobile app. You can, if you're at lunch, you just click the button and you can see everything that's happened. You can even click right from the mobile app and it'll dial a phone call and record that. You can click and edit the opportunity. You can snooze something until later. You can set a reminder. Lots of very practical things that fit the way of working for the modern sales person. Or like you mentioned other things that it could be used for service reps as well. If you need to understand, did they look at a particular help document on something, or maybe they missed a part that you wanted, well, you would know that. So there are things that go beyond what we've really positioned the product from a marketing perspective to fit. Part of why we've done it this way, there's an emerging sector that's tends to be called sales acceleration, and it's a series of tools, somewhat like what we're creating, that exists between the marketing automation platforms and the CRM platforms. And they're really focused on the efficiency of the sales teams. And for years we've spent, gosh, Joel, I'm like you. I've implemented dynamic CRM in 12 countries around the world, in Asia, the Middle East. So a lot of different cultural ways, but it's a similar problem where there's only so much you can get with the stick. You really need to be able to have better carrots. And I believe that the solutions that feed CRM without disrupting a person's way of working are a huge wave of what we're going to
But I
see over
just
the
Yeah,
next
have
so
4 to
to
5
activity
years.
tracking is a great example where we've had activity tracking preached about you got to track your activities in CRM, you got to track your activities in CRM. But for somebody who especially is working from their phone, that's not a really simple thing to do. It's getting easier, it's always getting easier, but you can have these great tools, but if people aren't can't track stuff from where they are, or it's a lot of work, they're not going to do it. And anything you could do to automate that or make that easier, is a big win without having to rip up your current dynamic CRM and replace it with Salesforce or something. Because if you do that and you don't address the underlying root problem, you're going to have the same issues you have now. So keeping CRM for what it's good for, which is relationship management and keeping a single version of the truth of your clients and things like that, and then automating the way salespeople do.
In Australia, we have particular strict laws when it comes to email distribution, and you probably know that one of the leaders in the segment, Campaign Monitor, they are Australian company, so they've been always strong on playing on maintaining the privacy of the recipients and so forth. So when I distribute an email to a list of recipients using tools, I suppose, when core motives or campaign monitor or something like this, there's always part of this email deals with the privacy and disclosure and disclaimer and so forth. So I need to include my company address. I'm saying, okay, we're doing that. Here's your unsubscribe button. We sending you this email because you are on our customer list or because you purchased a widget from us and so forth. Now you tapping into domain of personal emails. Does it mean that in addition to humongous Hitachi disclaimers I receive every time Joel sends me email, one line email
Yes.
and then 72 lines of the disclaimer, in addition to that, would I need to insert some disclaimers for the recipients to say, hey guys, I'm sending you this email about, you know, getting together for Friday night, but in fact I'm sneaking in and collecting some information about you.
Well, this type of solution uses your own Exchange server. It doesn't use any of the commercial servers that the marketing automation tools use. And so it's no different than you sending an email to a prospect about your proposal than it would have been without having Kuvana installed. So it is a one-on-one communication. It's not considered like a mass marketing tool, because our tool will not allow you to track an email to more than one person, because this is not the kind of tool for that. You would need to use one of the other tools, such as Campaign Monitor, which is a fantastic company, by the way. Loved watching them grow that organization over the years. And in that case, you are completely up to your own ways of working there. If your organization, such as Hitachi, requires those type of disclaimers, then you can have those as part of your. If you want to use a template, we do allow you to use templates, because many times people send emails about pricing or product, repetitive emails often throughout the day. That's how a lot of salespeople work. And so you can use a template to do that. And in those templates, of course, you can include those kinds of disclaimers, per kind of local laws or per any kind of company policies as well. But then again,
But I meant kind of slightly different type of abuse, like me sending my vacation video to Joel and say, "Hey, Joel, here's my vacation video," and then did you watch it? And Joel says, yes, I did. And then I say, no, you didn't. I know you didn't. You stopped 10 seconds into it.
So you're talking about if you have a link that has a tracking with it to see if you clicked on it, or like the video or the PDF to see how long you've read. You know, are
Yeah,
there any
that's interesting
concerns
about
with
PDFs.
the
That's quite interesting.
are there any concerns with that based on any kind of regulations around tracking?
If you put your videos on YouTube, like a lot of families do, then YouTube does have a counter that shows you know how many views that video has received over time, and you can get information on demographic data from that as well. But that's a different purpose than what solutions like this are for, where they're more designed around understanding a level of engagement. Because maybe as a nation, we see this quite often with marketing teams. They'll create 2 or 3 or 4 different versions of some type of collateral to promote their product, but they spend lots of money, lots of time doing it. They don't really have any insight into its usability, or its, you could say, applicability to the market. And that's one of the things that we're aiming to do with our product, is to give more insight into what is effective and what is ineffective, so that it can help the teams be more efficient. As with any tool, like these mass marketing tools, I can see where some people might want to abuse that, but I think that you're in a far greater position to abuse tools other than what built, because those tools can reach millions of people at once. I mean, with Core Motives, we had plenty of clients that were sending out 1 million emails at a pop to try and get people to the Bruce Springsteen concert at the New York Jets Stadium. That's a different arrangement, and it sets you into the canned spam laws as well, where there's marketing emails, there are transactional emails, there are different ways that those types of emails need to be handled, and there's a lot of information on Castle and canned spam laws, things like that as well. But again, this is a one-to-one tool that's used for salespeople or other people that need to send out information and really understand the buying signals around what's happening with engagement.
My perspective is definitely North America centric, and I've been working more with Canadian customers as well recently. And my understanding, talking to people from Canada where they have the canned spam laws and things like that, is that especially if you're emailing one of your clients, you have a valid reason to contact them and track it in CRM, and that's typically not an issue. It's a one-on-one email, not a spam type email. I don't think that that's a huge concern, and I do like that it's still going through our regular exchange. So any kind of disclaimers or any kind of data archival we can still use with it. Obviously, if you're in a country that has different regulations, you want to make sure you're doing what's right and what's legal and allowable in your situation. But how are you doing things like knowing how many pages of a PDF somebody has read?
Right. We use a wrapper around the PDF, and that it understands when there's a movement from page 1 to page 2, and we essentially do a time difference calculation between that to let us know how much time has been spent on page. And then we take all of that data and crunch it into graphs that try to make it clear and simple. There's like a bar graph, you could say, where it'll show spike when you're on maybe the references page, things like that. So you'll know that that's where that time was spent.
I'm trying it out right now, and I went
too.
to Kuvana.com, and I'm super excited because now I'll be able to know if George Dubinsky is really reading the emails that I'm sending to him.
Well, if you want the full CRM integrated product that has neglected opportunity call down lists and all the bells and whistles, it's $39. That's US per month per user. And it doesn't require you to have it for every user in your CRM system, only the people that you want to buy it for.
Yeah.
There's also a free version as well. And at the moment, anyone that signs up can use the full version for 14 days with all the features, and then you can decide if you would like to continue with that or not.
So what am I going to get with the free version? Does that basically just tell me somebody has opened the email I sent to them?
That's correct. With the free version, you would understand the opens, and with the we have a version that we call basic, and with the basic version, then you're going to get more information about the time in video, the time in documents. That's $9 per month. But if you want the CRM integrated version, where when someone clicks on an email or even lands on your website, if they are in your CRM sales funnel, so it's isolated data to keep it from being too noisy, then only those people that you're actively selling to, you would get a flash that would show, okay, they're actually on your website right now and they've spent 3 minutes and they've looked at these 4 pages. You would get that kind of information. And so that's the CRM version for $39. And would you like to talk a little bit about
Really good.
the installation?
Yeah, I mean, I went through the installation. It was super intuitive. I did the Outlook version. I didn't try the Gmail version yet, but downloaded. Go to Kuvana.com, Kuvana.com, and click the try it link. I downloaded the Outlook version. Now, one thing I did trip up, and you emailed me about it, is once I installed it, I saw the button in there, and then I started getting prompted that I was going to need a Kuvana login. How do you get the login?
Well, all you have to do is download the product, and then you'll be prompted with a screen that says enter a username and password. So at that point, when you enter your username and password, you're essentially signing up for the product and everything starts working. We want it to be super simple, like fill out a form and then get an email back with a link or things like that. It's just download it, and as soon as you restart Outlook after you've installed it, it asks you for your username and password, and then you're off to the races. Now, I think it's important that you understand the way we built this integration to CRM, because there's no solution file, and we're using simple username authentication. So you would just enter your Dynamics login, like think Inside View, just like you do with Inside View. And then from that point, that's how we make API calls back, so that when we write an activity, it's going to be written back in your name to the CRM database that you created an activity for such and such a person. And it allows you to download the file, plug in your credentials.
How are you determining what gets
the
tracked?
CRM integration live.
Is it tracking everything that matches a contact or lead, or is it selective tracking?
What it will do is if you send someone an email, there's actually a button that is in the send email screen, and it's can be defaulted on to track everything or off, and you turn it on only when you want to. There's another button that says track to CRM. So if you want something to be tracked to CRM, you need to click the track to CRM. So that's selectively allowing you to track it. So if you do choose that I want to track this email to CRM, when you send it, we will record that you sent it in CRM as a closed activity history record. Then if a person opens it, or if they click your link, or if if you included a video and they watch it, we'll actually write that they did that. They took those specific actions. And then if you were to do something else, such as update an opportunity, we'll record that opportunity was updated with a date and timestamp.
Yeah, I like that, because again, most people don't want auto tracking, and making it accessible, making it easy, and still giving you some control over. Now, is it tracking just based on email matching, or how is it setting regarding?
It is. It's based on email matching.
I've had a conversation with that about certain other solutions. People object to it, and the point I make is, yeah, you could set regarding. Set regarding is great, and you got the set regarding if you're sending the email from Outlook, and you got the CRM Outlook client. But for salespeople, it's a lot of times a victory just to get them to track it. And that's a lot better than not tracking.
It is, isn't it? It's one of those things where you almost have to pick your battles. And I think we're full of people that have been using dynamic CRM in here. I mean, I started with CRM version 1.0 in 2002, so I've been around the block with all these different kinds of ways that they've attempted to make all of those things work with smart tracking and things like that. And I think that this, while of course you could argue different angles, I think that it is a pretty simple, straightforward way to achieve the 80% rule with very little effort.
All right, George just sent me a link and I clicked on it. Did you get notified, George?
Not yet. I'm not sure where to go to get notified.
Okay, so there'll be a panel inside Outlook. Actually, hey George, here's the simplest thing. If you'll go back to the website, and on the button where you downloaded the plugin, if you'll just scroll down, there is a pretty clear screen that shows you.
Okay.
So in that panel, if you haven't started Outlook yet, which I believe you did since you sent the link, there's an
Oh, yes.
option
I
that,
got it. Joe Lindstrom
okay,
clicked on the link I sent him.
right. And then just to the right of that, there's a little bar graph, and you can click on the bar graph, and that will show you details about his engagement score, his engagement journey. At this moment, it'll probably still be refreshing,
No,
so it
he's
gets more
100%
robust.
engaged. Yeah.
I'm 100%
100%.
engaged with you, George. So yeah, this is great. And I love that you made it easy to try. I mean, it's very simple to download and try. You know, you don't have to sign up for anything. I think that's going to go a long way because other solutions that do similar types of things, it's not as easy to just try them out, and that's what users want to do. So this is the kind of thing that if you had 3 people that wanted to use it, you had some high-profile salespeople or a certain group you wanted to pilot with, you're making it easy to use. Brett, thank you for joining us this episode.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
guys very much. It's
Thank
a
you, Red.
pleasure to be here.
This has been CRM Audio, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM podcast. You can hear previous episodes on our website, crm.audio. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, follow us on Twitter at CRM Audio, or leave us a comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/CRM podcast. If you have any topic suggestions or questions that you would like for us to answer on a future episode, please drop us an email at voice@crm.audio. Special thanks to Dale Simmons for our theme music. Go check out his website, dalesimmons.com. Please join us next time on CRM Audio.